Everyone's confused. What's happening here, Alexandria? What's going on here?
Okay, so I have 4 scenarios. The merger would happen by SpaceX buying Tesla. This is actually the way of getting institutions teethless. This is the way to make sure that they are where they are.
That's why you're giving it a 55% scenario that's going to
I
happen.
do.
It doesn't even matter. Like, I'm just like, my God. Do we need a 51% vote on that, or does it need to be much higher?
Now listen, because this is very, very complicated.
Schwab has learned their lesson the hard way to vote in Tesla's investors' interest.
There is much more dangerous. There is much more dangerous than Schwab. I tell you, there is one that we really have to keep an eye on, and that is...
Welcome, everybody. I brought the one and only Alexandra Merz, Tesla Boomer Mama here, because we got some interesting things to talk about. There's a lot of confusion out there. It's insane. If you guys don't know who she is, then I don't know where you guys been, but she's a big voice in the Tesla community. Elon Musk follows her, and you guys need to follow her. Link in the description on her X. Amazing person to follow. And really, when it comes to these things, the SpaceX and Tesla merging, all this shareholder voting, all these things, the right person to speak with is Alexandra Merz. So I had to bring her on to talk about this confusion, this, merging, if it's going to happen, SpaceX IPO, what's going to happen with Elon's comp package. My God, it's a lot to talk about. How are you, Alexandria?
I'm fine, Pejjy, and you, and thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure. The last time I had you on, we set up to Jason DeBolt.
Yes.
We got Schwab. My God, it was insane. Like, because I posted that video a year after, and then Jason DeBolt went and reposted that. And my God, we literally got a whole fund, hedge fund, switching their vote from a no to a yes for Elon's compensation package. That is insane.
It wasn't a hedge fund. It was their asset management division with lots of public funds. Schwab is really very well known for their mutual funds, for the ETFs, and they take a global stand. So it's not each individual mutual fund manager deciding what they vote. It is the management deciding, and then for all funds, it's the same. And they were obviously going to vote no on the compensation package. And then they did not at all feel any pressure. They said it's not due to our pressure at all. They just had an awakening one morning and changed it to yes.
Yep. And the amount of phone calls and emails they received that you can't do that, that's the power of us Tesla community.
It is.
And I think
retail community is something that, yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. And we are much stronger than we think. And so I think Schwab has learned their lesson the hard way to vote in Tesla's investors' interest.
There is much more dangerous. There is much more dangerous than Schwab. I tell you, there is one that we really have to keep an eye on, and that is State Street. State Street has a lot of ETFs that are actually completely replaceable. You can buy the State Street one or the Vanguard one or the BlackRock one. They're all doing the same, but lots of people are in the State Street. And so State Street has a good amount of Tesla shares, bringing them above the 3% threshold that allows you in Texas to bring a derivative lawsuit. They're, in my view, the most dangerous of all. And so it's not only how will they vote, because they're going to be a couple of interesting votes coming up, if I'm right, but also whatever happens now with Tesla, and I have a theory, maybe right, maybe wrong, but if that happens, they might be the one to sue Tesla. Because I don't think the Vanguard and the Fidelities will do it. I do believe the one that's the most hostile and has enough votes is State Street. So I think we have to educate very, very early that people that have ETFs with State Street think whether they don't want to go to a competitor, because that's very easy to change. The ETFs, they are all the same. They all do the same. They have the benchmark, they replicate the benchmark. It's not complicated to change from one provider to the other. Or probably it's going to be make a whole awareness campaign how dangerous State Street is. I mean, the best thing would be if it drops below 3%. Then the danger is much more limited. But we have to work on State Street. That's our next mission, Pejjy. Here we go.
That's our next mission. I don't know who has a lot of ETFs that holds Tesla stock in State Street. You may want to take note on that.
Yes, I think I will actually write that down. I think that's one of the things I have to do next week is a big week for me because, I do my quarterly table on financial strength.
Yes.
That's always about 6 weeks after quarter end. So that's what I call the rating table. I have to do that next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have to start the State Street campaign. There we go.
Here we go. It's starting. There we go.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. Schwab down, State Street next. We Tesla community can do it. We can do it. We can do it.
We shall at least try. We shall at least try.
Yes. Seeing what happened with Schwab, I mean, that was insane what happened with Schwab. I'm sure we can do that with State Street on a much bigger scale because, there's a much higher percentage there, right? So I'm pretty confident that something will come out of this as well.
And you see, last time, the first time I talk about it is on your channel because I haven't talked about State Street yet. There you go. Yeah, you're just bringing the best out of me.
Let's go. Let's go. I love it. This is why I have Alexandra here. Love it. Let's go on to the confusion. Everyone's so confused. Yeah. Is SpaceX going to IPO? Is it going to merge with Tesla so it can avoid the IPO? People are concerned that if SpaceX and Tesla are going to merge, there's a lot of dilution going on. Yes, short term, it sucks. But I think in the longer term, owning a much bigger pie, I think it's a better idea in the long term. I think we all would benefit here, but everyone's confused. What's happening here, Alexandria? What's going on here?
Okay, so I have 4 scenarios. I will start with the 4th one, which is nothing will happen. It's, in my view, the most unlikely, right? SpaceX has now merged with xAI. Actually, xAI became legally a subsidiary of SpaceX, and SpaceX is gonna go public before end of June. My bet that it's gonna go public on June 9th, not only because that's 6-9, but also because it's where all the stars are aligned. You can ask Grok or any other LLM, what is the date in June where all the stars are aligned? It all comes down to June 9th. And I think Elon is very sensitive to these things. It's a Tuesday, which is a good IPO day. So because it's not Monday, it's not Friday. So I think there are very many reasons for the IPO to happen on June 9th. And I do believe that is going to happen, albeit you will see my number 3 scenario, something else may happen. But let's just go through with nothing would happen, meaning the SpaceX IPO would happen, but Tesla stays on its own. That would calm down the market, but the disadvantage is that lots of Tesla shareholders want a piece of SpaceX and would want to sell Tesla. So there will be selling pressure, especially for retail. And retail is 40% of Tesla. And so there is that scenario that there will be selling pressure just because so many people would sell the Tesla stock, maybe 10%, maybe 25%, maybe some people want to go even to 50%, right? SpaceX. And then that way there will be selling pressure. So that's my number 4 scenario. I would give it a probability of, I don't know, 20, 25%. It's relatively low in my view.
Okay.
The number 3 scenario is that Tesla and SpaceX would merge prior to this IPO date. I do believe that is now relatively unlikely. The reason being, it would dilute Tesla because Tesla being the only public company in this whole current constellation. Tesla is the only one that could absorb, except if you would take Tesla private, but that's just not a scenario that even I think about because it's very unlikely. So Tesla would be the one absorbing SpaceX before they even would IPO, and hence the delusion would happen. And I agree with you. This word delusion is actually often misunderstood because people have the feeling they're just going to be watered down, right? That's something that they held currently and that's worth 100, suddenly it's worth 60 or I don't know what, just watered down. That is what happens when we issue new stock. That is true. If we just issue new stock without having any assets coming in, then it is a watering down. But in the case of a delusion where you get the assets from SpaceX, meaning Starlink, SpaceX, xAI, all that, you get something for it. So it's not a watering down. It's just a different composition of your asset now. I don't understand this whole panic about delusion. Obviously, it depends on at what proportion you bring those two entities together. but it's not something where you just lose whatever. That actually brings me also to the point that I think currently there is pressure on the stock because we just diluted and we voted to be diluted. What do I mean? In November, we voted for the 2025 compensation package of Elon. That would give him 423 million new restricted stock. Those 423 million restricted stock have just been issued. They've been issued in Q4 2025, but the reporting on it only became public now. So we just moved from a 3.3 billion stock Tesla to a 3.7 billion stock Tesla because we issued those 423 million shares for Elon, which we voted for, and is completely different to how it happened with the stock options in 2018. Then it was stock options, he had to earn them, and the dilution happened at the moment when the milestones were earned, and his voting rights are the last thing he gets. He only gets those when he exercises those 308 million, I always forget the number, latest in January 2028. So the 2018 package was actually all the way how he doesn't want it, because he gets what he really wants, meaning the voting rights very, very, very late, only when he exercises them. Now, with the restricted stock, they obviously learned their lesson in 2025. The stock is issued. So when you have the value of Tesla, let's say we all believe it's currently worth 1.5 trillion, you have a higher stock price if you divide that by 3.3 billion shares, then you divide it by 3.7 billion shares. Okay, so one of the pressures is that the number of shares increased. It's mainly technical, but these shares now exist. So the mountain of Tesla shares got bigger. That is a true delusion, a delusion we all voted for in a large majority. But I'm surprised people don't connect those dots. Now, let me get back to the scenarios of merger. So the one is nothing happens. So number 4. Number 3 is it happens before the IPO. And I still think that is highly unlikely for 2 reasons. One, SpaceX and in the end, all of Musk economy need money. Right. Not because Elon throws it out of the window like some other people in Silicon Valley, but because at the moment, this is a phase of intense investment in 2 sectors, energy and chips. So I do believe that we will build both solar cells and chips, GPUs, and that takes a lot of money. So when we hear at the moment 20 billion capex for Tesla for 2026, that does not include any solar cell fabs nor any chip fabs. So Tesla needs more money. We briefly touched on that in the earnings call, and our CFO said, yeah, there are other ways. We're talking to the banks. There are different options, blah, blah, blah. But it was very, non-committal. One of the reasons why I don't believe in my scenario number 3, coming from the bottom up, of SpaceX merging into Tesla is that we're then missing the IPO that will allow to raise relatively quickly, relatively simply, relatively cheaply, $50 billion. $50 billion is a lot of money. I mean, I know we hear the Amazons and the Googles of this world throwing 180, 200 billion out now these days per year. But for a lean and mean management of capex like Elon loves to do it, he's really the master. I think if I would need to pinpoint down what is his strongest strength, other than obviously his vision, it is this most efficient capital spending. He is really the one that presses the lemon the best way. He knows where he wants to go and the way he wants to invest in it. And if you watch, not saying he's never making mistakes, but he's making them in a lean way. He is learning very quickly when he makes a mistake before he spent too much money on it. When you compare that to the sums that are out there, now I completely understand that the Metas and the Googles, they just have so much more money. And then you are at a state in a company where, hierarchy and spending has its own dynamics. He never let that with Tesla, SpaceX, or xAI happen. They are all operating like half-broke they're not half broke, but half broke startups, right? He's really managing every penny that's going out there. And the CFO we have at Tesla, Webber, is in exactly the same sense. He actually made me laugh, just a little episode when all the hardware 3 people were complaining that there's no FSD final solution for them yet, right? He was the one saying, this is the CFO of Tesla, right? I still have my Model 3 with hardware 3 and it works fine. So you see what I mean? I love this. I love that we have people like that are on board and that are not big spenders. Okay, so not doing an IPO, trying to come back. I'm going all over the place, but not doing an IPO by prematurely, that's not the right word, but you know what I mean, merging SpaceX into Tesla would dilute, I don't see that as bad, but would dilute Tesla shareholders and not be able to raise those 50 billion. Okay, so my next scenario is that SpaceX goes public, but Tesla joins much, much later. So that they digest the IPO, and then over a course of 2, 3, 4 years, they build slowly on that. I do believe that is the most unlikely scenario of all. Okay, so at the moment I had us 25%, and let's say 10%. This one probably even less than 10%, but let's give it 10%. Because I do believe there are 2 things. First, there's currently a good political climate for Elon. He's financing again the midterms. He has the White House in his pocket. This is a very good year for capital expenditure because President Trump has put in place enormous tax advantages, because you can actually, usually CapEx, you have to write it down over 35 years. Now you can write it out in 1 year. This is it's like an expense. This is an extreme incentive for people to spend. So there is some urgency to not fall behind competitors who also use this. Now, let me quickly address the competitors. There are competitors who know what they're doing in this field of storage, AI. I'm particularly thinking of AWS, Amazon making all this money with AWS. They have learned those lessons. But in order to now grow, the only company that can grow in space is SpaceX. And the only company that has the capacity to build energy necessary is SpaceX/Tesla. So when you have all these others asking for permits, and they're getting all accelerated permits from the White House currently, the White House really wants to push this. They don't want the United States to fall behind in all AI data, whatever. But the obligation is that for every center you build, you have to build the energy that is needed. You cannot just plug yourself into a already overstressed US grid. You have to come up with energy solutions. That's where everybody else fails. Show me one mega cap who has an idea about energy solutions. There is none. So this let's wait 2-3 year scenario to merge Tesla and SpaceX, we don't have that time. We don't have that time. And even more dangerous, I think then Tesla becomes a candidate for one of the competitors who has money to not know, infinity, to actually have a hostile takeover. Because the problem with Tesla is that currently Elon only has 11% voting power. He can very quickly get that up to about 15% if he exercises the 2018 options. He can get it higher if he reaches the milestones of the 2025 compensation package, but it is not huge, right? It will in the end be 25% if we stay Tesla alone, but it is not sufficient for him and retail to block definitively a hostile takeover. If Tesla becomes too fragile, because Tesla has the knowledge, the manufacturing knowledge, the solar knowledge and all that, for one of the big guys, could be an NVIDIA, could be a Google. And I know people look at me and say, no, it's too big. No, it's not too big. It's not too big. Tesla is 1.5. There are others that are at 4, right? And what you need in these moments are the capacity to find more funds or to do a share exchange of the hostile takeover part, And they will find that. In the current market, everybody knows that Tesla is the only one to provide that. So that scenario of we have 2, 3, 4 years to wait for this merger just doesn't exist. There is a need for urgency politically, but also to not fragilize Tesla. And then my Goldilocks best scenario, which I think has more than a half of a probability, more than probably 55%, probability to happen, so I just went the ladder up, is that we merge very quickly after the IPO. This comes with a lot of advantages. And the merger would happen by SpaceX buying Tesla. So it's the other way around than what I explained earlier on the bottom. Bottom, I explained it was Tesla, the surviving company, because it's the only public company. Now we will have SpaceX that's public. I was thinking for months, why in the world is Elon taking SpaceX public now? And I know now. I think I know now. I have to be careful. I don't want to, I know nothing. I'm just trying to put breadcrumbs together. But my theory is that he needed a public company where he had extreme voting power. And this extreme voting power he only has in SpaceX, because SpaceX has a triple share classes. So at the moment in Tesla, there is only one share class. When he has a share, it's worth as much as your share or my share. In SpaceX, that's not the case. In SpaceX, he has Class B actions that have a multiplier of I think he has, if I recall it right, 42% real shares, but the 70% voting, right? So once SpaceX is public, that will go down a bit, but it will still be by far majority. And I do believe all of retail, and we've gone through this, I don't know how many years now, all of retail wants him to have superpower voting share, right? He said it many times. It's not about the money anymore. Gosh, when you're at 800 billion, do you think 100 billion makes a difference? Probably not, right? It's not about the money. It's also not, he's not a power-hungry person. This is not about, I want to dominate this and that. He really genuinely wants to bring humanity forward, but he also sees he has enemies. And voting power is his strongest strength against hostile takeovers. So the entity to survive has to be SpaceX, because he has higher voting power. So he bringing SpaceX to the market, making it public, gives him now a public company. And you will see they only want to come for 50 billion. Do they like those 50 billions? Of course they do. But that dilutes SpaceX only by 4%, right? They want to come at 1.5 trillion, 50 billion. It's 3 and something, let's say 4%, right? So they're not diluting a lot. Now, there may be some fantasy and the stock price may go up to, I don't know what levels, that's something else, but the dilution itself is not that much. So we're having suddenly a 4% dilution. Excuse me, we just went with the restricted stock by a 10% dilution in Tesla, and we're still having the smile on the face, right? And so the way that I imagine that, and I may be completely wrong, and I am not selling my Tesla share because of exactly that. I am not jumping into SpaceX, and I'll show you the calculation later. I actually think you're in a more favorable situation, if I am right, if you stay in Tesla once it gets merged. But let me get that. So let's just say, hypothetically, they will IPO at 1.5 trillion. At that moment, there's a good chance, because we're there at the moment, Tesla is also worth 1.5 trillion. Okay, so we're half and half, just going the same. Now they announce, and I do believe that will happen between July and September, because it has to be consumed before the midterms. So this is, we're holding our breath. This is going to be so interesting. They will announce that SpaceX wants to absorb in one way or the other Tesla. So if nothing would happen, it would be 1-to-1, right? You would bring the Tesla shares in there, and both the SpaceX people and the Tesla people have now half Tesla, half SpaceX, because both are at 1.5. But that's not what happens. In the way this happens with two public companies is, since the second public company has to vote on it, we will have to do a shareholder vote, probably with a special meeting, because I don't think they will wait for November for that. You need to give them some sugar, I call it, premium, okay? And so these premiums in very conservative cases are between 20 and 25%. And in normal cases are between 30 and 35%. And in very aggressive cases, which I don't think we are, between 40 and 50%. So I can very well imagine, let's just take the bottom at the moment, that SpaceX would say, okay, please come in, Tesla shareholders. We're giving you a 20% premium. So what would that mean? That would mean your portfolio is not 50-50 SpaceX Tesla, but it is 40-60. I mean, I'm just making numbers up. It obviously has to be adjusted to the exact offer. But you are actually, as a Tesla shareholder, getting more of SpaceX at a cheaper price without any tax event by having sat it out. And now you are in the combined company with a higher weight. And I think actually the ones that get the least out of that are the new SpaceX people. The OG SpaceXs who have had SpaceX for the last 10 years, they have made good money lately. I can tell you that. So they are not worried. But the ones that buy at the IPO, except if the IPO really runs, but let's say the IPO doesn't run and then this happens, then the freshly acquired IPO participants that then get into this Tesla merger, they're the least favorable ones. Now, you would say, so why would they vote for it? Well, because their vote doesn't matter, because Elon has superpower.
Yeah, that's right. And there's your first dips too, if that scenario becomes true. But my only question here is that if we have two publicly traded companies, don't SpaceX and Tesla both have to vote? Like, I know SpaceX is fine. I know SpaceX, we have more than 70 votes.
We have to vote. Our vote will be SpaceX proposed a merger. For one Tesla share, you will get now 1.2 or 1.3 or whatever new entity shares. Say yes or no.
And do we need a 51% vote on that, or does it need to be much higher?
We need now listen, because this is very, very complicated. We need a 50% of all outstanding Tesla shares vote plus one vote. So it's not 51, it's 50% plus one vote. And the 50% is not of those that cast a vote, but of all outstanding shares. So at the very beginning of the shows, I explained to you, we went from 3.3 billion to 3.7 billion, outstanding shares. So we need 1.85 billion yes votes, even if only 2 billion participate, right? So my big plea at the moment is, let's talk State Street, but also let's make sure we can vote. Those are the two rallying cries that I'm currently putting out, because all those that had problems voting, now is still the moment you can change of broker, or you can pressure your bank into making sure you can vote next time, or you can at least get organized if it would have been possible, but you didn't know how. We currently still have a little bit of time. Now, like I said, scenario 4 is nothing may happen, but at least then you can vote in the next shareholder vote, which will be latest in November. But I do strongly believe that something should happen. It will actually protect Tesla. It will protect Tesla from hostile takeovers. It will make the whole X, whatever it's going to be called, let's call it Musk Inc. at the moment. I think it's going to be called X, the whole combined structure. It will make the whole combined structure much more shielded. Nobody is going to attack Tesla stores in the United States because of political motivation anymore once it is with SpaceX. Even the Democrats are smart enough to understand that the United States needs SpaceX. It is our best shield for national defense. And I'm not saying it doesn't come with caveats. I think the Chinese will look at this with a very suspicious eye. I'm sure the Europeans, like, they hate everything, they'll hate this as well. But I don't believe anybody can really do significant blockage of that, except, going back, a Tesla shareholder above 3% that would introduce a derivative case, hence State Street.
Yeah, which we spoke the first thing about this video, this podcast. So that's why it's very important. My God. But the scenarios you put are very realistic. I actually didn't even think about. I had my thoughts here too, that I'm like, what's the best bet? What's the best bet? If there's going to be a merger, what's the best case scenario for Tesla, and what makes sense? I totally forgot that Elon had 70% voting power in SpaceX. So it doesn't even matter. That's why you're giving it a 55% scenario that's going to happen.
I do. And see what he did, and see what he did with xAI. The other stakeholders, the other shareholders in both SpaceX and xAI, they were informed that a merger happened 2 days before it became public. So
that's right.
That's what power looks like when you have so much voting power, right? The whole scenario, my scenario number one, will just put him into a position where entity is shielded. I'm not saying it's shielded against everything. My gosh, they will find ways, but it is much better shielded than it is today.
Yeah, no, that's actually a very realistic scenario that I didn't even think about. A lot of people are saying that it's much better to get it merged at once right now, but I don't know.
Well, then you don't have those 50 billion. Then you don't have those 50 billion. And then you're in the Tesla structure in which he will never get above 25, 30%, just because it's already so structured. There's only one share class. And that would actually trying to do it in the Tesla structure. And like I said, they learned a lot. So the 2025 compensation package is the most favorable for him, the way it's done. But that dilutes us a lot. Every compensation package dilutes us with another 10%. So doing it in the Tesla structure, yes, he will slowly get to higher percentages at a high price, because every time he's paying 45% on it, right? It's the one thing that is winning is the US IRS, right? Where they get all these payments from his exercised options. But I think he understood now how long and late and cumbersome and expensive that is. While in SpaceX, it is just ready to do that. It's sitting. I look at it and I go, my gosh, genius. How in the world did he plan that? And there it is.
The connection there and the puzzle is actually
coming together.
It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah, it's coming together nicely. Now, the compensation package, I know you made a very good article on that. I really like that article a lot. Let's touch on that. What, for those who don't know, what will happen to that? They go like, wait a minute, 8.5 trillion. What's going to happen now? I know there was in the proxy, there was like sections of it that you pulled out nicely on what will happen. So let's touch on that for a bit. What will happen with the compensation package?
First of all, let's just look at it operationally. Let's say this merger happens, because if no merger happens, the compensation package stays as it is, Tesla stays like it is, and he's working his way up to finally get to 25, 28% of voting shares. That's his voting power at the end. Of course, it's money for him, it's money for us. But that is the scenario if nothing happens, if there is no merger. Now, if there is a merger, one way or the other, either pre-IPO by Tesla, either post-IPO over 2-3 years, or like I predict in the 2-3 months after the IPO of SpaceX, then you have now a mega conglomerate. I don't even know how to call it, because it's going to be the most exciting thing in the world, where you have the one and only best rocket company, the one and only best global low orbit satellite company, the one and only xAI intelligence company. I don't even know where to go. Yeah. And the one and only EV robot vision to action company, right? You have all this. So do any of those milestones matter other than the market cap? Actually not, right? Because suddenly the emphasis may be to get those solar cells up and running, or it may be to get those AI data centers in the sky. So this new X company may not need to focus on the number game that we put in place for that compensation package. Now, does that mean that Elon's giving up on FSD? You gotta be kidding. We're just now at the brisk of having it, but it becomes, actually what it does become, I tell you one thing, it becomes the cash machine for all the rest, right? It becomes the ATM. That is where the cash is going to be generated. In the structure, in the text of the proxy on which we voted on, it was already very clearly laid out that in a case of a merger, I tried to sum it up again, the market caps stay alive, but all the operational milestones go away. And that is normal, because operations will not be the same anymore. I mean, if Tesla would operate completely independently within this mega conglomerate, maybe they could stay alive. But I think that's not what we want. What we want is that they now really work together as closely as they can to get to a much bigger goals. So the operationals would fall away. That means all the EBITDA would fall away, and all the 20 million cars and then 1 million subscriptions, all that stuff would fall away. The market caps would stay alive until the moment of the merger. And if he is at that moment at that market cap, and I'm sure he will get the first one, at least probably the second, then he gets those restricted stock. All the others fall away because now we're in a bigger structure. So more or less will survive the market caps at that very moment, and everything else falls away in what I imagine as a scenario. Does that mean we should set up a new compensation package? I think we should. I mean, he has the voting power, so it's not about voting power anymore. But I think, everybody, even Elon Musk, deserves to be paid. So I do believe that we should have a debate about that, and what, the board will come up with what would be a good way of remunerating whatever. But it doesn't matter to his voting power anymore the same way it matters now. That also means, let me state that, the delusion will stop. Now, whether you define delusion positive or negative, whatever it is, but once he has the voting power, because at the moment he gets the voting power through delusion, right? That's what happened just with the restricted stock, but also with the 2018 package, it was just in a different mechanism. But that delusion will come to an end, which is actually great. We have carried him to that. And he has deserved it in SpaceX because it was such a long time, such a risky business. But he had let me just get into the point as well, why Tesla doesn't have two classes of shares and can't do it anymore. You can only do that at the moment you IPO. You can set up a company how you want, and you can change it all the time. But the second you IPO, you are subject to multiple authorities. Obviously, the stock exchange you're trading at, NASDAQ, the SEC, but also the state you're incorporated in and whatsoever. So, and we had obviously Delaware, but that's, thank heavens, behind us.
Yeah,
so exactly. So the way Tesla was IPO'd in 2010 was with one share class, and one share class it is now. You can't, there were mechanisms where you could alter it a little bit. Meta did that, but they had the second class already mentioned in their IPO. Tesla never did, so Tesla cannot change. That is the strongest factor for SpaceX, that there is, well, actually it's a triple one. They have A, shares for all of us, the common shares. They have B for Elon, and C for all other employees.
No, I'm still thinking about the, because I totally forgot that Elon had 70% of SpaceX. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't even matter. Like, I'm just like, my God. That if that's the case, then it's just now Tesla. Then Tesla shareholders need to do it. But yeah, no, with the compensation, yeah, I do agree that I think it will be. But would it even matter though? Like, would it even matter to even have a compensation package?
Oh, it's gone. The whole, at the moment, it feels nearly a bit nitty gritty now. Yet 3 months ago, we were so excited about it because the goals has just shifted so much upwards.
Yes. Yeah. Could you just imagine? It's like the quarterly reports coming out, and it's like this big, gigantic, my God, you got SpaceX, then you got xAI to talk about, then you got Tesla to talk about. It's like, it's going to be a long sheet to talk about.
And I can tell you one thing. So his voting power wouldn't stay at 70% once it's merged with Tesla, right? Because
yes,
in a certain way, that is a delusion for the SpaceX people. He would still have the only B shares, and I can only estimate probably will be somewhere between 40 and 50%.
Still a lot.
I would have to really say exactly, but it's by far enough to get us where we need to be. Because he can always count on his retail, but at least this is actually the way of getting institutions teethless. This is the way to make sure that they are where they are. And so I really hope I'm right. You have no idea to what point I really hope I'm right, because we have all worked very hard the last 3-4 years, fight for Tesla, fight for Elon. This could all calm down once we're in that structure.
I never even thought about a scenario like that, to be honest with you. The path is clear on how to do it the most efficient way, the most beneficial way for Tesla investor, and the best way, really.
Exactly.
And
that is the number one scenario.
What's crazy is that Elon's not saying anything. He's just sitting there. He's not confirming.
He's not allowed.
Yeah, he's not allowed.
No. So listen. So around IPOs is a very, very strict quiet period. So this quiet period usually starts with what is called an S1 filing of the IPO. So let's just assume I'm right with my June 9th. At least end of April, he has to completely zip it. But we heard that SpaceX employees were already told a couple of weeks, no, actually months ago now, December, to not comment on anything anymore. So they were already considered in a quiet period. Not him, but whatever. He has to be. And if you look at the last interviews, he's dancing around as much as you see him wanting to open the mouth and then biting his tongue and thinking, yeah, we said we couldn't talk about. So, and if Tesla gets involved, you will actually feel it first because he will stop commenting on Tesla. That will be a huge indicator that we're getting to an S1 filing, that we're getting to a merger filing. So I'm talking now about post June 9th in that period. And you're right, he has not commented. If he didn't want to go there, he could have shut it down immediately.
Yes.
Instead of that, we have seen multiple people publishing likes on some, this is becoming the 100 trillion company, like by Elon.
Yeah. That's it right there. When he wrote that Tesla could become the 100 trillion company, I'm just like, that's suspicious. What's going on
if
here?
we merge with the number 3 mega cap, and the thing is, we're actually one of the rare ones that manufacture something. So many of the others, it's only services. And in a time where the 2 most valuable things are energy production and chip and data centers, everything that's around there, you have one company that can do both and bring it up in the sky, where you have unlimited sun, where you have 4 times more the energy, where you have so the idea about space is genius, because just bring it down to something really simple. Who owns space? Nobody. So you owe nothing to nobody. There is no invoice coming. There is no, this is you. This is not, you make money out of it. You pay taxes where you are located, but up there, you're not generating anything that has a first level of taxes. So that's the first one. The second one is the only way to get up there at the moment is SpaceX. I'm not saying there are not other initiatives, but the other initiatives are at least 5 years away, right? We're very, 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 very far from getting a real competitor. So all this is, this is the moment. This is the moment where Starship starts landing. This is the moment when FSD is going unsupervised. This is the moment where xAI will become the number 1 AI model. Check. And there we are. It couldn't be at a more key moment. And if you think about it, he probably saw that months ago, but then think, okay, in what company do I want to have that, where I have for sure the voting power I need to hedge, to protect, to shield? Well, there we are. Wow. No, that never thought in 2026 that not only were Tesla investors now owns a little bit of SpaceX and xAI in a way, right? But merging it into one. This is insane. Like, this is never a dull moment with Tesla. My God. And, this is why I love having you on, Alexandra. You really connect these dots together. Like, after this, I was thinking maybe I should save for SpaceX, or not save for SpaceX and continue dollar cost averaging into Tesla. But then seeing what's going on and seeing how you're connecting all these dots together, it makes sense. And I'm like, no, not enough Tesla stock. Need more Tesla stock. But you know what? I don't understand why Wall Street is not seeing it. They didn't see that we just got diluted by more than 10%. Nobody talks about it. They're not seeing that SpaceX is the entity that should absorb the other entity because of the voting rights. None of them talk about that. They're all going, the retail investor, they're delusional. No, we're not delusional. We're doing our homework. I'm spending hours in all these paperworks and trying to not that I'm hating it, but I could do other things with my time. But I find it fascinating to understand why in the world this makes sense now. This is so, watching this and then trying, and again, I'm failing a lot of times, but trying to reconnect what may have been the underlying motivation. And, I have seen, and we've all seen, Elon suffer so much. What they did to him in Delaware.
Yeah, that was crazy.
How they treated him in that hearing. That first judgment, does the richest man in the world deserve more money? Where are we? I could still slap that lady. I'm sorry. I have a physical reaction every time I think about it. I'm like, ugh. how in the world? And every time they treat Elon badly, I feel they treat us badly, us retail investors who believe in this. So when I hear people saying, oh, he's just selling the next dream, this dream didn't come true, you gotta be kidding. I have got my Tesla in front of the door. I press the button. I'm driving down to Santa Monica in an hour and it's driving. So that dream did come true. It's done. Tick that box. It is not that Elon is moving from one pipe dream to the next. No, he fulfills the first pipe dream. And it is not a pipe dream anymore. It's reality. And now we're moving into the next. I don't want a company a la GM or whatever, where all they do is fabricate the same type of cars now for the next 50 years. I want this motivation and excitement about the next big thing. I don't think this is a pipe dream. I think this is actually the logical next step, given that he has succeeded all the others. He's making rockets land. He has done xAI in a fraction of the time than all the others, and
That's
better,
crazy.
right? So every time he tackles something, he's not moving to the next pipe dream. He's moving to the next pipe dream when that pipe dream has become reality. Then is the next one, rather than now sitting down. So if they don't see it, if they hate us, we'll continue.
Yeah,
but again,
that's normal.
It's normal because we show all the others how limited they are, how they have stopped dreaming, how they have stopped going for it, having that bite to really go there.
Majority of people, when they get to a stage after having everything, they don't want to risk it. But Elon's not like that. Elon's like, no, let's keep going. Let's,
and I think he sees the danger comes actually from passive Wall Street actors, meaning the State Streets of this world, meaning people that you hear nothing about until the moment they really get aggressive. And that is the hedge that he needs to build, that shield of making sure they don't have the power they think they have. And I think this is now coming together.
That's what I call a sheesh moment, No, that was well done. That was well put together. And, I love the passion. Tesla investors and community is a whole different breed. We are like, I don't know. Yes, we're in it for the investment, but we're also in it for something better and greater, which makes us all come together nicely, which I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's
and Pejjy, remember, we sweat together when it was at 100. Remember that? I think I came.
Oh, I loved it when it was at 100. I dumped my whole savings into it. It was amazing.
Right? And then and nobody's celebrating at 400 yet. We feel like, this is nothing towards, and if it, and does that hear people going, oh, but for 5 years it hasn't moved. Excuse me, it was down at 100. Remember when it was down at 100 and came back up?
Guess those are guys who buy at the top, right? But anyways, those who have been for a long time, they're in it for something bigger. And,
that's actually a thing. I was looking yesterday. I can't stop researching this because it's just so motivating. How many times do you think Tesla stock price multiplied as of Friday since the IPO?
Oh, that's a lot. I can't even think of the number, but it should be a lot.
It's more than 800 times. More than, not 8 times, 800 times. Okay,
there we go.
So you have, I think Meta is 13 times.
Wow.
Right. So this is nothing. Don't let anybody tell you this stock is over. This stock has the best days yet to come.
Yes, I agree. And that's why we're seeing a lot of new investors now putting in a lot at these prices. I mean, for the greatest signal ever that Elon bought $1 billion at like $400.
Oh, I tell you why. It all comes down to voting. So he bought those on the 12th of September.
Right before the vote.
2025. Exactly. And the date of record was on the 15th. That's the date it settled. So he now had, for 1 billion shares, more voting rights. And that is part of the result. Now, after the result, I said, but that is because Elon has so much voting rights. If Elon would not have voted, we would have won that vote by 69%. Like that, we won it by 73. So whatever, it made a difference, but it wasn't actually necessary. But that shows you see, those little acts, throwing 1 billion into Tesla stock is not a billion, but those singular little acts show me his motivation. His motivation is voting rights. People forget about that. So whatever you think there is a scenario in the future, which scenario gives him the highest voting rights? That's where we're going. Now, let me see. Do you see here written, not financial advice? If you want to buy SpaceX IPO, do what you want to do. If you want to sell or buy your Tesla, do what you want. I can only tell you the breadcrumbs I put together. and the bad actors I see, and then hopefully, reunite everybody fighting them. But I can't give financial advice. You still have to think it through and decide for yourself.
That's right. That's right.
And you know what, Pejjy? It's really funny. I'm going on all those shows, and it's only on your show that I can really develop my ideas. This is the first time I really brought it together completely, because I've done bits in German and English, but this is the first show I actually laid it all out.
Yeah, that's what on my channel I like the guest to just say it all out,
And
that's why I don't interrupt. Yeah, I'm like, just go for it. What do you got? Let's go. I love it.
Thank you so
but
much.
No, you connected up. You connected it much better, because I was confused, but now it all makes sense. Like, for anyone who's been confused, I think this podcast will really help put everything together. Now everything makes a whole lot of sense. It's all coming together perfectly. It's all coming together in a very sensible way that I can not be confused about, that I can connect it in my brain. So I really appreciate that. That's really good. Love it.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely love it. Whoever's not following Alexandra Merz, Boomer Mama on X, follow her right now. Her link is in the description. And she sometimes does YouTube videos from time to time. So that link is down there as well. So sheesh, thank you, Alexandria. Thank you for coming on. This was an amazing podcast. I learned a lot. Again, not confused anymore. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen this summer. Maybe we got to do another podcast to refresh people on the State Street voting stuff. Maybe.
Let's see. On State Street. And if you couldn't vote, look into it now. We have 2 lists out there. It's on my X account, 2 Google Sheets where all Tesla retail shareholders who could or could not vote expressed their opinions. We sorted them by country, so it's very easy for you to find an alternative if you want to change of banks. If you can't change of banks for whatever reason, push your banker. If you need help, reach out to me and I try to help. We need to be able to vote. We need to get to those 50% of outstanding shares plus 1. That is going to be a heck of a feast. I can go into details how difficult it is, not today, but we already wrote an article about it. So please make sure you can vote. Pejjy is going to remind you. I will come back on to tell you when it's necessary.
Definitely. Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting summer. And let's see what happens, Alexandria. Let's see what happens. It's going to be awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Let's go.